Yes, thank you very much, Brand Innovators. And thank you all of South by for joining us here. I'm really excited to talk about kind of community building and experience creation with someone who truly understands it. So Katie Babineau is CMO of Beyond Yoga. If you are not familiar with Beyond Yoga yet, they where other athletic brands sort of encourage people to push harder, to be harder. Beyond Yoga doesn't want you to be so hard on yourself. They arrived on the scene in 2005. They were acquired by Levi's in 2021. And their mission for an all-shape, all-inclusive, or not all-inclusive, an inclusive, all-shape, all-size mission to create positivity in the community and that there's strength in softness. I'm blown away by the mission, and I really, really admire it. And if you're not yet familiar with Katie Babineau, prior to joining Beyond Yoga in April last year, so about a year's time, she is a force to be reckoned with in the industry. So you'll hear about her very much. Prior to joining, you were, you were doing VR at Snapchat. You were doing, VR experiences at Snapchat. You were part of launching the Shot on iPhone campaign for Apple. You ran e-commerce and digital, a part of that team for Sony. And then you were on the community team, or ran the community team for GoPro. I mean, wow, what a resume. Welcome.
Thank you. Now I don't have to introduce myself. You did an amazing job. Thank you. So Katie Babineau, you explained, but came from a world of consumer tech and really fell in love with building lifestyle brands. I made a huge pivot into apparel, activewear, because of my deep love for Beyond Yoga. As a customer, I stumbled upon the beloved Space Style legging when I was about 9 weeks pregnant with my first, and we make an incredible maternity line. We're one of the few in the industry that actually service women with growing bodies who are pregnant. We make a lot more now, and obviously diversifying across. But 20-year-old company, female-founded, female-led, acquired by Levi's in 2021. So we're embarking on our chapter 2, which we have an incredible chapter 1, an amazing founder story, and I feel just so honored to be a part of chapter 2 and growing it.
I love that. And we also talked about the importance of diverse backgrounds. And when we chatted initially, I'm coming from commercial interiors and kind of product development, product design. You're coming from tech and you're going to fashion and retail. Can you talk a little bit about how that diverse background really helped you and your approach Beyond Yoga?
Well, I'm 1 year in, so we'll see. But it's been a lot of fun. That's the number one word that I use to just describe the experience. For me, I wanted to continue to learn and grow. I'd been in tech for so long, both on the hardware, software side, but just the repetition, I was just ready for something new, ready to learn and grow. And so I had sort of been eyeing apparel and athleisure. And it's funny because a lot of people told me it's going to be a really hard pivot. It's going to be, and it was hard to break in. I would say the power of my community and network. I was able to meet the CEO now, Nancy Green, through my dear friend and mentor, Kenny Mitchell, who is the CMO of Levi's. And so I met Nancy Green through this amazing mentor and friend of mine, but I had to do the work. We talked about brand building. We had very similar philosophies on how to do it through community, through, a real grassroots approach before really scaling. And so met her. She honestly took a chance on me. But what I have learned in this process is marketing is marketing. It's it's a transferable skill. I hope no one's offended by that, but I think, what makes really great marketing effective is rooting it in a product truth, a customer truth, and really knowing the product well. And so I am a more product-focused marketer. So I fell in love with diving in with the product team, understanding where to connect the dots, what stories to find. And so it's transferable in the sense that it's just more product, and it's about finding the through line and the theme. So it's been fun. We'll see how it goes.
Well, you're starting year 2, and a diverse background prepares you for a diverse future. And you're, taking Beyond Yoga to places that they haven't necessarily fully explored yet. And how do you kind of capitalize on that? I think one of the things, as we talk about, you mentioned community was one of the things that brought you to Beyond Yoga. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what else drew you?
Yeah, I'd say I love that they've built a brand on the premise of really connecting with community. It's very important. The product is also very high quality product. And
Yeah.
that's why we've been able to drive such fandom, is because we deliver a really good product. So people have fallen in love with our number one franchise. And because of that, they buy it over and over and over in every different color.
Yeah.
And so at like the baseline for the business, obviously that's healthy. We want to grow and expand into new categories to deliver more. But through that product fandom, we've really been able to build a strong community. So me coming in as a marketer that loves building community, what an amazing foundation, because there's just a really solid place to start. But our opportunity is right now we're a beloved brand, and we're sort of like a if you know, you know brand, which is great and very cute. But if you want to scale the business, you've got to crack that open and bring more people into the orbit. So that's our goal. We got to reach more people and do it in a little different way.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of brands talk about community, but I feel like Beyond Yoga really does represent that. You have so many evangelists that it is like, if you know, you know. How is Beyond Yoga sort of activating that community?
A lot of different ways. I would say Club Beyond is our biggest franchise, in which we bring the brand to life in the market. And we do that through these hyper-local community events where we're typically working with a local studio partner or an emerging fitness influencer, creator, instructor. And we're really leaning into what's really locally relevant within that community and tying it to where we have brick and mortar retail stores, where we have really blossoming .com business. So we've sort of established that as our traveling franchise, which existed before I got here. We've sort of pointed it in the right direction in terms of tying it to retail markets, tying it to key wholesale partners and business growth. And I'd say that's the biggest unlock, I'd say, for like any marketer out there, because I hear a lot of conversation around community sitting top of funnel and like it's really only going to drive brand awareness. But what I've found is that you can bring it full funnel. You can drive revenue. You can drive customer acquisition. You can drive sort of that full funnel success through a really loyal, engaged community. So that's what we're trying to do.
Well, and you'd said earlier, community is the magic sauce. And that phrase just really stuck with me. And as you're talking about activating this powerful, like passionate group, you really sort of doubled down on that. You had this idea that you have this community, you wanted to give them a space for maybe an extended time for them to come together. And it was going to be physical, digital, and social. And you planned a pop-up in New York City. Can you talk a little bit about that? When did you plan it? How did you plan it? And what was the pitch that you had to kind of put out there? And we might have some visuals too, I believe.
Yeah. I feel very fortunate that it's a really optimistic and a bit of a yes and culture at Beyond, because there wasn't a lot of like hard sell on it. The idea that we had was New York's our largest market. Let's pop up in a really intimate, engaging way that's fun, that's playful, that gets people together for a little bit of a self-care moment before the grind of the holidays. And so it was a little bit of an oasis in the chaos of the city in October. We know that Google had shared this stat that I'm sure you've all heard, that 52% of Black Friday or holiday shopping happens in October now. So people are shopping.
Insane, that stat, 52%.
Early, 52%. Wow. And I don't know where I fall in that range. I think I've started shopping earlier than ever, but people are shopping earlier for holidays. So we wanted to get in, on the early upswing of that mindset before people were really like exhausted with the holiday parties and getting together. Yeah. And so we popped up for a week in New York, and we wanted to flip it. We knew we were going to debut our holiday collection, but also wanted to offer more of just a consumer-centric experience through classes and workshops and opportunities for people to connect with each other. And so we had this really awesome 2-story space in New York, right in the Union Square area, and we drove 50% new customer acquisition. We sold a bunch of products. I think we sold about as much product that we sell in one, a whole month for one retail store.
But that wasn't even your main objective going in. It was really about this community space and bringing people together and brand awareness. And you sold that much product over a week. That's incredible.
Yeah, people were
amazing. I mean, that looked wildly successful and so much fun as well. So I have a question. At a time when marketing budgets are under greater and greater scrutiny, they're getting, cut and revised, and you really need to prove that ROI. What were some of the business metrics that you went into this experience trying to hit?
So I'm all about level setting expectations. So for this, going into the event, it was really important for me to level set. Hey, this is typically, we're going to go in, we're trying to drive brand heat, momentum in this really important time so that we're top of mind for customers before the holiday season. So the KPIs and metrics that we were going to look at to consider success were mostly, brand conversation, lift in PR coverage, and sort of your more traditional reach and engagement metrics. So that's what I teed up. But as you heard, we were able to drive lower funnel success in customer acquisition. So we drove 50% new customer acquisition. We tracked that through were they in our system before, after. Obviously, email acquisition is really important for us for retention and follow-up. And then we drove revenue. We drove, considerable amount of sales in comparison to our retail stores that we have open. So it was a really incredible tool for our retail team. We're also getting ready to roll out a new retail design and 4 floor plans. So we were able to test some of those fixtures in the pop-up to understand, okay, what's working? Are people responding? So that was really critical too. So it worked hard for us.
Well, and that's so interesting. The importance of actually beta testing, like kind of building that into future events or experiences or designs so that you can make sure that it is working. Like start a little bit small and then roll it out across all your stores. I want to talk about, you also engaged influencers and technology in a way that you like Beyond Yoga hadn't before. And obviously this is due to your background at Snapchat, AR filters. Can you talk a little bit about what we're seeing on the screen right now? We were seeing
some
on the
beautiful headshots. I just really encourage the team to have fun with the content. And I think, there's a lot of incredible marketers here who I'm sure are very familiar with some of this. But for me, it was just really, it was just going to be a ton of fun to think about how we revealed it to our community. So we engaged with a really talented CGI artist to create this like grand reveal of the space. And it's all essentially AR rendering of the space and kind of drop down reveal. The video when in motion just shows our core product coming out of the space. It's just a really fun, playful way to announce that we were coming to New York. And people, I was sort of really just, this is block and tackle in the tech world. So I thought of it as really just a standard sort of execution, but people really loved it. It got, it was one of our more viral pieces, I think, because people were just trying to figure out what it was. But, it did really well for us from an engagement perspective, broke a ton of our KPIs on social, got picked up a bit. So this was a fun one. And I think just in the athleisure space, you don't see it a lot. Obviously, you see it high fashion, tech, and some in beauty. So it was just a fun little piece of content that helped us unlock some of the brand momentum KPIs
and so shareable. I mean, again, getting that brand awareness out. You also engaged with Dudette with a sign.
This was my favorite thing. I just love her so much. I think she's hilarious. She's got a really smart content strategy. I don't know if you're seeing shaking heads, so you're all familiar with her. She is incredible. And when my team pitched this to me, I was like, yes, please do it. Go do it 1,000,000 times over. And this was our most shared piece of content. Obviously, she shared on our channels, her channels and ours. But just the relatability in what she puts on this sign obviously hits deeply with individuals. And the leggings are pants, like justice for leggings. And I suck at yoga, but I'm great at wearing yoga pants. I mean, who doesn't relate to that? So I think there's just that like human insight, human truth that she really gets at that feels right for our brand. In a really serious industry, we always try to have a little more fun with it. So these two engagements, I think in particular, really kind of showed a little bit more of the brand positioning and levity and play and joy that we want to bring out to the world.
definitely joyful. I think
she's great. If any of you are looking for female creators to work with, she's incredible.
Well, actually, I'm reading a book right now by David Spinks. It's called The Business of Belonging. If you haven't read it, it's fascinating. It's sort of a framework or a playbook maybe that explains case studies and frameworks of Meta and let's see, Airbnb and Salesforce, among others. But in the book, David writes, engagement is more important than scale. A highly engaged smaller community is more valuable than a large disengaged audience. True community building means creating spaces for real interactions and shared experiences. And in fact, a community that doesn't engage is just an audience. I actually highlighted that last part and I was like, yeah, duh. But yes, absolutely. And that actually made me think of something you had said. How does this, I mean, you're creating real spaces for your community to come together and engage in authentic ways. How do you kind of like personify that message?
I think there's a lot in that resonates. And I do think our industry, I mean, like, this is not a major unlock for many of us. Like, we all see the power of actually scaling your brand through building a really engaged community. So I think there's a lot in that makes sense. I don't know if there are many brands out there that exist today who don't want to engage with their community. And if you are, I'd love to hear your perspective.
Why? Why not?
I think that marketing has really grown up and understanding just how important it is to have a two-way dialogue with the customer. I think it's almost a non-negotiable, and it does help you scale. So I'd say, it's an unlock in that.
Power of the passionate few. Mm-hmm. Well, I have just kind of even like a brass tacks question, like a more technical question for you as a CMO. Do you have any favorite frameworks that you use when you're identifying your business objectives, specifically for experiential strategy?
Frameworks, probably no frameworks come to mind, but I think exploring experiential, I mean, there's a lot of business unlock that I think gets left on the cutting room floor to understand, how do you tie experiential, which I think sometimes can get put in the corner of like brand fluff? Mm-hmm. How do you tie it back to revenue growth or new customer acquisition, if those are things that are important for your brands? Like there's a way to tie it full funnel in a really fun, delightful way that delivers on brand impact.
Well, and I think having those clear ROI, and I think what you're able to demonstrate with the AR filter, or even just you went in with statistics in mind so that you're able to hit those and then communicate back out, look, this is successful. We were able to move a lot of product and
I would also say like there's beauty in test and learn and discovery and taking a bit of risks. I would say both of those content pieces I for me seemed a little bit like risky in the sense of the team had never done it before, especially for this brand in this industry. Would people like it? I don't know, but it's okay to take a risk. And if they didn't work out, that would have been fine too. So being able to take some risks with it, I think is great.
And how important is it for Beyond Yoga to sort of own their own events versus being part of an ecosystem?
We're definitely part of an ecosystem, I'd say, just in terms of scalability.
Yeah.
We're still a small team, so we can't be out there, throwing and creating these one-off bespoke events every day, every week, every month. So what we have is a bit of an infrastructure we've built out for Club Beyond, which allows our team at our size to activate about once a month, but once a month with more of a niche, hyper-local feel. And that helps us drive business in local markets for our retail stores and wholesale partners. And then once a quarter, which is a little more high impact, conceptual, that we can really dive in at a brand level. But we do partner with a ton of brands. I mean, we've done stuff with the Rare Beauty, and your team does an incredible job at community building as well. So finding the like-minded brands to show up and attach onto their events and show up and build community in that sense is really important. We just did an event with ColourPop, which is a cosmetic brand, and they're known for their color. We're known for our color, and it was their event, their community, but we were able to show up and outfit and get product on people, which was less of a lift for our team, but equally as important.
That's great. I do have a question, just in the maybe a little bit more political, but in the current political landscape, diversity, inclusion, and belonging is almost a bad word. Can you talk about just maybe your take on that, given that it's a cornerstone of Beyond Yoga's brand and ethos?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about that this morning, and I do think I'm very aware that the culture we've built up at Beyond, and actually being a part of the Levi's culture as well, which Levi's is very values-led business and brand.
Yeah.
It's a luxury that is nowhere near a dirty word for us, and it's an expectation to build diverse teams, to lead with diverse perspectives in the room. Like it's a non-negotiable for us. Yeah. But I come from tech. I've been generally one of the only females in the room, impact what we can in hiring, in the products that we develop with our teams, and just having tough conversations. And if it doesn't feel like it's a fit, and you are not proud of the place where you work, then you can always control and make a change.
Yeah. Well, we also, just in the messaging, there was a panel earlier, just before us, where it was, Activision. They're talking about how are they making sure that it's a safe place for women to play. And that's not necessarily a market that you would feel would be as much as like yoga and athletic apparel. And they'd said something that stuck with me, where it was, they're doing the right thing. It's also good for business, but they're doing the right thing. And even with Beyond Yoga and having clothes that fit you as you are now, not having to work out to fit into your workout clothes, I just think the sentiment is really is so strong that it's like this is part of us and this is what we stand for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Can you give any advice for a brand that wants to create in-person experiences if they don't have big budgets yet? If they you mentioned beta testing and some other things.
Yeah, I think you can start really small. I don't think you need actually big budget to do it well. And especially if if you have a very local audience, I think being able to show up in ways that it really resonates with local, partnering with local partners, and that's a way to expedite costs as well. One thing that we did a ton when I was at GoPro was, if you're a brand that has maybe a wider social audience and you've got a little bit of distribution value exchange, we would go and we'd work with travel tourism boards, and we'd do a bit of an exchange on content. So we would get free accommodations, but we would bring exposure to the country that we were in,
so smart,
hotel. So just thinking about it in the mutual exchange capacity, how can you partner, bring in partners to
build
cut
the
down
ecosystem
costs. Yeah.
I love that. So smart. Well, what's next for Beyond Yoga? What can you tell us?
So much. Yeah, we have a big year. I mean, last year, I've only been here for a year. So last year I was really focused on building the new position, the new brand strategy, fixing a lot of the foundation in terms of the team org and how we work with our partners in e-com and retail. And so it was a lot of building last year to ramp this year and next, really. And so back half of this year, a lot more coming, a lot fun stuff. But I think, the cornerstone of our media marketing mix really is social, community, and people, because we know people follow people, less brand, and they want to see, who's a part of your brand. So a lot more to come.
Awesome. Well, anything else here at South by? I know you just came from another speaking opportunity, but any other place that we can see any pop-ups, the apparel, things in Austin, books coming out, podcasts, articles?
I know nothing about Austin, so although we had barbecue at somewhere great yesterday, I'm excited to explore. I haven't been here for about 10 years, so if anyone has recommendations, I'm open. I'm all ears.
Well, on that note, I think it is time we wrap up. So if anyone has recommendations for Katie or myself, we are here. Also, if you wanted to ask us any questions about things maybe we talked about, we'll be around for questions afterwards. So thank you so much to Brand Innovators and all of you for spending some of your South by Southwest with us. Thanks a lot.